On April 5, 2007, the MSC Diamond departed the port of Heraklion, Crete, around noon. The plan was simple and familiar: a short Aegean cruise northward to the island of Thera, better known as Santorini. On board were 1,195 passengers and 391 crew members, many of them Greeks and Filipinos. The sea was calm, the weather perfect, and the journey should have taken only a few hours. At about 1 p.m., roughly an hour after leaving port, the ship suffered a malfunction in one of its 4 diesel engines. The crew managed to shut down the faulty 4th engine safely, and the voyage continued on the remaining 3. No one aboard could have imagined that this minor technical issue would soon lead to one of Greece's worst maritime disasters in modern history. By 3 p.m., the Sea Diamond entered the Santorini caldera, the ancient volcanic bay surrounded by steep cliffs and whitewashed villages perched high above. The crew decided to repair the damaged engine while anchored in a sheltered area, a spot considered safe, protected from the wind, between the islands of Thera and Neakameni. But at 3:30 p.m., everything went wrong. Without warning, the Sea Diamond struck a reef that was not properly marked on navigational charts. The sharp volcanic rocks tore a hole in the hull below the waterline. Within minutes, seawater began flooding the lower compartments, and the ship started to take on a bow-down trim and a starboard list. What happened next revealed a troubling lack of coordination. No immediate alarm was sounded. The watertight bulkheads, which should have been sealed instantly, remained open. Passengers, unaware of the seriousness of the situation, wandered the corridors as water surged through the lower decks. Crew members from the lower levels, many of them stewards and cleaners, later claimed they had to wade through chest-high water to reach safety. Yet survivors who saw them coming up recalled their uniforms were completely dry. One of the passengers, Kathy Sumner, later described the chaos. "I was in my cabin when it happened. A violent impact, and everything tilted. Plates crashed, furniture slid. I thought some kind of alarm would go off, but instead a steward ran down the corridor shouting, 'Life jackets!' We didn't even have time to collect our things. We just ran, barefoot, terrified." Another passenger, Tom Gatch, remembered, "I heard a massive bang. I went into the corridor and saw water already coming in. I thought about going back for my life jacket, but then I saw the water rise to my ankles and realized there was no time. I ran up to deck 5 to find my wife. Up there, people didn't even know the ship was sinking." By 3:40 p.m., the crew finally began the evacuation. The ship had developed a 12-degree list to starboard, but seemed stable for the moment after some compartments were sealed. Panic spread quickly. Passengers screamed, children cried, and fights broke out over life jackets. Teachers like Tiffany Gittens from New York recalled that there were many children under 18 on board. Despite the confusion, the crew managed to organize lifeboats and guide people to the embarkation points. Witnesses later said the crew acted fast and bravely, though the sheer number of people made the evacuation extremely difficult. At 4 p.m., the Greek Coast Guard launched a massive rescue operation. 12 lifeboats, 6 naval helicopters, 2 C-130 aircraft, and 4 naval vessels were sent toward the stricken ship. Local fishermen joined the rescue effort, ferrying passengers from lifeboats to the port of Thera. The Sea Diamond drifted helplessly within the bay, carried by currents and wind. At 4:35 p.m., rescuers managed to secure the ship's stern to the rocky shoreline, allowing more passengers to climb down. But at 4:56 p.m., the vessel broke free again, forcing rescuers to change sides and open new gangways. By 6:40 p.m., the last lifeboat was lowered. The evacuation had taken more than 3 exhausting hours. Over 1,500 people had escaped the sinking ship, most cold, shaken, but alive. When the evacuation ended, 2 passengers were missing: 45-year-old Frenchman Jean-Christophe Alain and his 16-year-old daughter Maud. Their surviving family member later told authorities that she had managed to swim out of a cabin nearly full of water, but her husband and daughter never made it out. As night fell, the Sea Diamond continued to sink. From the nearby cliffs of Santorini, Locals and tourists could see the stricken ship listing further to starboard, the lights flickering, and hear the sounds of shattering glass and collapsing furniture echoing across the water. Dozens of Greek rescuers and tugboats worked through the night, trying to stabilize or tow the 140-meter cruise ship towards shallow water. But by 11:34 p.m., it was clear the battle was lost. At 3:36 a.m., the Sea Diamond capsized. Her superstructure disappeared beneath the surface, leaving only the red hull and twin propellers visible in the faint moonlight. By 5:58 a.m., the stern slipped below the surface. 1 minute later, at exactly 6 a.m. on April 6, 2007, the ship was gone. She had sunk entirely within the Santorini caldera, at depths that shocked even experienced divers. Later surveys showed the wreck had split in two, the stern resting at around 180 meters and the bow at about 62 meters. All survivors were brought ashore and given shelter in local hotels across Santorini. The next day, April 6th, two other ships from the same company, the Aegean II and Perla, were sent to pick up stranded passengers and crew. About 400 people were flown from Santorini to Athens International Airport, while others continued their tours of Greece or waited for new travel documents, having lost their passports and belongings in the chaos. Some passengers refused to board another ship ever again, traumatized by what had happened. Others remained in Athens for days, waiting for assistance from embassies and insurance representatives. Meanwhile, divers began searching the wreck site for the missing father and daughter. The underwater survey found no trace of them. The ship's voyage data recorder, VDR, the maritime equivalent of a black box, was later recovered on April 15th, providing vital clues for investigators. Local officials publicly apologized to the French family for the tragedy, while pressure mounted from Santorini residents demanding that the wreck be removed from the seabed. The Sea Diamond lay on a steep underwater slope within the caldera, slowly leaking fuel and lubricants. Environmental experts warned that the wreck posed a long-term ecological risk to the fragile volcanic bay, one of Greece's most visited tourist destinations. For years, debates raged over whether the ship should be raised. The Greek government initially rejected the idea, citing costs estimated at over 150 million euros and insisting that responsibility lay with the ship's insurers and owners, Lewis Hellenic Cruises. However, ongoing pollution concerns and pressure from local communities kept the issue alive. In October 2017, a decade after the disaster, the Greek Ministry of Shipping finally announced plans to raise and remove the wreck for environmental and navigational safety reasons. The Sea Diamond disaster became a stark reminder that even modern cruise ships are not immune to human error, outdated charts, and the unpredictable power of the sea. What began as a short voyage from Heraklion to Santorini, a distance of less than 130 kilometers, ended in tragedy within sight of one of the most beautiful islands in the world. 2 lives were lost, hundreds were traumatized, and a scar was left on the seabed of the Aegean that still haunts Santorini today. A rusting wreck lying silent in the dark volcanic depths, a monument to complacency and a warning to every ship that follows.